having a hard time coming up with what I could say about Jurassic Park that hasn't been said 100 times already. It had the same impact on me that it had on a lot of people my age. I was 4 years old when it came out, and though I didn't originally see it in theaters, the first time I saw it, I was mesmerized. And unlike some movies that wowed audiences at the time but have definitely dated since then, Jurassic Park's effects still amaze. I would argue the CGI in this movie looks better than most CGI we see today. One day, Spielberg was talking to Michael Crichton and asked him what he was working on. He then described a book about scientists who bring dinosaurs back. This immediately captured Spielberg's imagination. But everyone wanted to make this movie. I know, imagine a world where movie studios are fighting over who gets to make an original story. Spielberg and Universal eventually won out, with Spielberg putting Schindler's List on hold. Spielberg thought that the project was basically like making a sequel to Jaws, but on land. At first they considered making the dinosaur effects with stop-motion animation, but Spielberg wasn't happy with the results. Since CGI was still very new, no one thought it might actually work. But after early tests, Spielberg was satisfied enough to go forward. A lot of the success with the effects comes from a combination of intense research that the animators did on the movement of animal biology, as well as a great deal of mixing between CGI and real animatronics, which were created by legendary effects man Stan Winston. Also, having them at night and in the rain helped to hide the synthetic texture of the CGI. But even scenes like this, in my opinion, look so much better than most effects done today. It doesn't hurt that everything else about the movie is perfect. The script is perfect, the cast is perfect, the story and the pacing are perfect. The score by John Williams is one of his most iconic and moving. I get chills and tear up just listening to this music. The story, the characters, and the effects are what allow this movie to still hold up today. For me, this movie also represents a beginning and end in an era of blockbusters. In much of the same way that Jaws began the era of the summer blockbuster, Jurassic Park began the era of the rip-off. After Jurassic Park came out and showed everyone what computer effects could do, some saw possibilities of how to make their stories better, and a lot more just saw dollar signs. To quote an animated George Lucas,
"We don't need a script. I mean, 20, 30 years ago you needed a script as well as actors and props and all that kind of stuff. But this is the digital age. We have computers and electricity and money. We don't need a script."
Even Spielberg failed to produce a copy of Jurassic Park that would live up to the original, but we'll get to that later. Jurassic Park became the highest grossing movie of all time. And it was a phenomenon. When I think of the two seminal movies of my childhood, the movies that were everywhere, I think of The Lion King and Jurassic Park. And the film still stands as one of the last great imaginative movies of my childhood. Hopefully one day people will realize that it wasn't just about the dinosaurs that originally filled people with wonder, but instead it was the product of a great filmmaker, with a simple desire to make wonderful things appear on screen. And by wonderful things, I mean Jeff Goldblum.